Welcome to Expedition Self on OMTimes Radio with lifelong learner, entrepreneur, and creator of the worlds of Expedition Self, Sam Parrotto. Sam shares 4 decades of studying, guiding, and teaching how to go inside so we can build an incredibly powerful, dynamic, and validating relationship with the self. Expedition Self is laced with stellar, unexpected insights about what it means to be human. Listen now and ignite your self-development process with Sam Parrotto.
Well, hello. I am so pleased to be here. I have to say we've started out with a bit of a technical difficulty, so I don't have my mic and my headphones, so I'm not sure. Hopefully the sound quality will be good enough to keep you engaged. Oh, gosh, today we're talking about delicious dreams, and it's kind of a perfect day for this conversation because it was, at least when I was getting ready, it was kind of overcast and stormy and windy. And, it feels like the exact right energy to scoop out some, like new appreciation for the realm of the unconscious where dreams happen. So, so I'm going to lace a number of my dreams through today to help bring the conversation to life, but I'm also equally fascinated by your dreams. So this is a perfect day to call in and share yours or ask questions about them. And so here's the number. It's 202, I'm taking a deep breath while I give this number, 570-7057. So grab your journal and let's ponder together. So how do you dream? Do you have recurring ones that you're baffled by or you look forward to having again? And how do you utilize your dream state to help you work through life? It's so much fun to talk about the dream realm because we get to celebrate our imagination at work. If you're someone who doesn't remember your dreams or you don't think you dream, well, listen on, because I know you're going to find some tidbits to help you rev that otherworldly dimension as we feast on this topic. So I think dreams are proof that there's an unconscious self, alive and at work in the recesses of your life. I've been fascinated with my dreams since I was a little girl because mine are incredibly visual and detailed, and they usually represent a whole kind of an epic movie. It's like my version of that. I want to just, I'm going to just stop for a moment. I want to make sure you all know the number again. I'm a little thrown off today because I normally know how to take callers and we're having to make some changes behind the scenes over here so that when you call in, I'm going to actually mute so that you can actually talk. So the number again is 202-570-7057. And I'm sorry for kind of getting off track as we get started. So, okay, let me tell you I'm going to go back to my dreams. I get advice in them. I get to have feelings in intense enough ways that I'm much better able to register the what that causes them. And I'm fed a constant stream of unforeseen information from my psyche. Like constant, right? The sleep dream realm is like getting access to this lush, unguarded valley where your mouth-watering imagination abundantly thrives and flourishes. And knowing how to interact between the aware thoughts and the unaware human experience, it gives you the ability to be more industrious when you go inside. And going inside is my thing. It's where I think all the richness and the power and the aliveness of our lives really lives. So I want to say a bit on why I think dreams are the tastiest treats, the dessert of the human experience. So first, they're totally safe, and you are completely free to experience everything inside of them. And they're gifted to you by your limitless, extraordinary unconscious self. So while I was hunting around for a poem for the end, I found one called We Dream, It's Good We Are Dreaming by Emily Dickinson. And that fit this idea. Anyway, it's short, but I wanted to read it to you. We dream. It is good we are dreaming. It would hurt us were we awake. But since it is playing, kill us, and we are playing shriek. I think that's the thing about dreams. They're just a place where you can go and explore and experiment and exist. So, secondly, they constantly remind us of the miraculous nature of being human, that we must be more than we typically think of ourselves as, because everything about them is unpredictable, and at the same time, it is produced by us. Because our dreams, they show us what our mind is capable of, and they help us to connect our emotional selves without interference. The other cool part of dreaming is that it helps you start to see the world through a symbolic lens. And it begins to break down this idea that the only things that matter are those that are tangible, that you control. And instead, it offers up this lush, vibrant, unblemished world that is all yours and mine to explore. And symbolism, it leads to systemic thinking, which is a really important evolutionary way of looking at the world, and also most of the complex problems in our life and the world can only be solved, by understanding that the most tangible things we see are always just a tip of the iceberg. Symbolism, it helps us look beyond the specific and the detailed and what's obvious, and it helps us drop into the deeper meanings that beckon us to search for that which we cannot verify as absolute and true. And, lastly, no matter how stubborn or unconscious or shut down you are about something, I know I get that way, your dreams will do the work for you to help you bring things to the surface. I like to use the word scrumptious to describe dreams because they truly are a place where you can't intentionally muddle up that unrestrained brilliance of you, because it's actually unrestrained there. Like you don't have a mind that's controlling it. So you just have to get good at sorting the dream out to understand it. And of course, that's the compelling part, because that information, it's not given to you in straightforward ways. So it draws you in and it pushes you to excavate that meaning for yourself. So, your unseen intelligence is nestled within your dream space. Think about it. The images that show up, the way the stories get told, the characters who show up, the way they communicate. I can actually do math in my sleep that I cannot do when I'm awake. And I can talk in other languages that I've never formally learned. And I'm able to figure out solutions to issues in my life that when I sleep, they elude me. So I have to say, most of my thoughts that I teach are served up when I'm actually not awake, because my psyche, it's kind of more productive and it's unconstrained during my sleep. So as a result, my innate intelligence is free to be itself and offer up insights and answers I wouldn't necessarily find. And that's what I'm suggesting is true for you too. You can pick up lots of books that tell you what your dreams mean. But I think it's important to talk about how you can make your dreams mean be more useful in your self-development process. So let's talk about how to actually engage your dreamscape. So your dreams are sending you messages all the time, 100%. You just have to bring a particular quality of attention to tap into them more fully. So I want to distinguish the way you want to relate and work with your dreams in this hour. It's important that you don't try to conclusively interpret anything about your dream. You want to be a gatherer, a harvester, kind of like a human dustpan, collecting information when you work with it. Not trying to figure out its specific message as quickly as possible and then take off with it or be resolved in it. An excerpt from one of my dreams the other night I was riding in a Jeep through the center of a beach town, like the ones they go on safaris in. but didn't have any roof. And I was actually doing the one driving, and there were 5 people in the car with me, and I did not know any of them. But all of a sudden, we were bombarded with gunshots coming at us. And, as I looked at them, worried for them, I realized that all of the people in the car weren't corporeal. They weren't like human, like they didn't have flesh and blood to be penetrated by a bullet. So they looked like they were full humans, but when something came towards them, it just passed right through. And the next thing I know, I'm yelling, "Hey, I can get hurt here." Like they were clueless to what was going on with me. So although I didn't sit down and write this dream out, I'm sure you can feel your brain wanting to go right to, as you listen, "Oh, I know what that dream's all about." Now, this would be my quick interpretation. She's carrying ghosts around, and the ghosts aren't helping her. They're just filling space in the Jeep. But you see, by refraining from quickly concluding the dream, I give my conscious mind a chance to mull it over and allow those background thoughts and feelings to kind of hover there. And this is how you get better at creating the bridge between the two realms. You leave the gate open by not deciding what something is. And as a result, it gives you time to really allow the information to make its way into a more useful place. It's kind of like moving cans in your pantry to the front so you can see what's there. So I want to just stop here. We've got a caller. Now, I need to just tell you all what's going on here. I'm supposed to mute my computer in order to let this caller through because I'm not really able to do it through the mic. So we have Susie from Philly. If you want to come on, I'm just not quite sure how to mute here. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just see here. Nope, I have no idea how to mute. So we're going to try this. All right.
I'll try to mute you.
Okay, great. Awesome. There we go. So Susie, welcome. Tell us about your dreams.
You can hear me? Can you hear me?
I can, and I'm having such technical difficulties today.
I'm probably going to dream about it tonight.
I probably will. Great point.
So I have a question for you. I have a recurrent nightmare for decades. It's always the same thing where I'm going to fail a college course because I didn't show up, didn't do any of the work, and now it's the day before the final exam, and I've created a problem for myself. And I always wake up in a... Can I keep going?
So I still can't hear you, Susie.
You can't?
Oh, there you are. Now you're back. Go ahead. Okay. So you have this recurring dream you're going to fail a college class.
Right. And it's identical dream over and over. Had it probably like 30 times over about 20 years. And then one night in the dream, I said to myself, hey, you're like 50-something. You've already worked for over half of your life. No one can take anything away from you. It's just fine. And then I never had the dream again for like 10 years until about a month ago. And now I've had it twice. And so I'm calling to find out what you would suggest that I do to explore this.
Well, I have a question. Did you say to yourself in the dream a long time ago, "Hey, you're certain year old, there's, you can't fail anymore"? Did you do that in the dream?
Yes.
So that's so interesting. You got to the place where your conscious mind actually went into and visited that dream and allowed you to influence really what was going on. The idea that it's back, I would actually be looking for what's the next message about it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right? Because you don't really know if there was something there a long time ago that you dealt with at that time, but now there's a new piece of information or some experience that's similar now that's really bringing it back up to your awareness.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The thing about, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how to break the dreams down, is I'd be looking also at, has the scene changed at all? Has your feeling in it changed? Like what is it that you notice about the picture when you're living in the middle of the dream, and see if you can start to collect that data.
Okay. Yeah, because it does have a different feel to it than it did in the past.
Yeah. What's the different feel?
It's not as clear. Like the images aren't as clear.
Huh.
And so it's a shorter dream.
And it's a shorter
detail.
That's interesting. Well, again, you've already started to pick up some new pieces of data, right? The key is, again, not to try to land on, this dream means that I'm, back in the space where I'm afraid I'm going to fail at something. But there also is the place where you can actually go into that dream at night and ask questions and actually try to prompt more information and say, hey, I'm about ready to sleep, and I'd like to know more about this dream and what's going on for me.
That'll be a new experience.
Well, it's all about putting intention into our dream space, right? The more we do that, the more it gives back to us.
Okay.
So thank you for calling.
Great.
All right. Thank you. I really appreciate you calling and putting up with my technical issues.
Not a problem.
All right. Well, so that was an awesome share. And I'm hoping that we're through the issues, and that anybody might feel like calling and talking a little bit about their dreams. And we're right at the point where it's time to go to break. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we move those cans in the pantry to the front so that we can see them, feel them, connect with them, and learn more about them.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Well, welcome back. I'm Sam Parrotto, and we are talking about dreams today. I'm going to just pause for just a moment. I don't know if all of you have ever found yourself in a moment where things just didn't really come together, and you're having, at least in this case, I'm having this experience of, oh my gosh, I don't have all these pieces. And so I know that when Susie called and talked about her dream, that it was not really comfortable to listen to. So unfortunately, to deal with what's going on, we're going to not take any more callers for this conversation. And I have to tell you, I am so disappointed because I was so excited to talk about dreams. It's, like I describe it as dessert. And there's a reason, because it's just so fun to explore and to try on different ways to see it and to think about it. And so I'm not sure what all this is about from a growth standpoint for me today, that I ended up getting online and ready to do the show, and my headphones didn't work and my mic didn't work. But what I can say is that it's all growth. And I hope that as I go through week after week and I work on bringing the most of myself I can bring, that in this moment you will bear with me and you'll appreciate what I'm living through over here. So, all right, let's get back, because now I'm going to share what I had presented, and hopefully while you're at home, maybe you can make some notes and even write me about it afterwards. So, okay, we're talking about this pantry and moving these cans forward. So engaging your dreams, it means you have to learn how to hover between sleep and full-on awakeness. And this hovering means that you slow your brain down and you try not to think about what there is to do today or the future. So you intentionally pause. This is when you wake up, okay, right? As you're coming out of the dream space or your sleep over the evening. And so you intentionally pause and you turn backwards, like looking over your shoulder, and you hover in your mind in the place where you do not lock in on any idea. Instead, you focus on the images gently, right? If you try to lock in on them and go, oh, that's a lion, or oh, that's a Jeep, all of a sudden it'll like release itself from your grasp. And what you're trying to do is gently hold on to that space when you come out of your dreams time. So again, if you try to latch onto them and hold them, they're going to evaporate because you're using your conscious mind to do this. And the dream state doesn't exist there. So in order to stay in that space, you have to allow the emotional feeling level to be really present without thinking about it. I know it sounds like, what are you talking about? How do you do that? I know it's really hard to do, but you will get better and better at it. It's kind of like squinting through your eyes, but instead you're squinting through your mind, and then allowing the feeling and the sensory experience to seep through. So when you hover, you try to just let that feeling of the dream sit with you. You don't try to figure anything out or understand anything. Otherwise, you're going to engage that active brain again and it'll lose it. All right. So that's like the most important thing I have found to help you recover and bridge and draw that unconscious self over into the conscious. So as a footnote here, I want to mention something, because if you don't really truly believe in the unconscious, you won't be able to do this, because you won't go towards the thing you don't really buy into. So wherever you have some disbelief or some tentativeness about it, it will be, it'll play in how much you get out of the dream realm. And this idea, it relates to your growth work in general too, right? Because any answer you seek about who you are, it lives in the unconscious self. But if you don't believe that to be so, if you don't trust what shows up for you, then, if you don't really want to know what's going inside for some reason, the subconscious, it will absolutely not open for you. And I think we forget this, that we're so complex and there's so many pieces going on in our minds that, at any given moment, there's parts of ourselves that don't really want to be in connection with what's beyond what's tangible, what we know. I know it sounds odd, but in all of my hours and hours spent opening this up within myself and helping others do the same, it's clear to me that there is a very distinct relationship. Now, let me say it again. If there's a very distinct relationship between the mind and the heart, then there's a less accessible but no less significant relationship between the conscious and the unconscious. Okay, since I kind of messed that up, I'm going to say it again. If there's a very distinct relationship between the mind and the heart, and I think we all are in touch with that, then there's a less accessible but no less significant relationship between the conscious and the unconscious. And your dream state, when you dream, when you sleep, that's your opportunity to bridge those two. So what I mean when I talk about this relationship is They aren't the same. So that means your conscious mind and your unconscious self, that those two are different. They have their own independent perspective. They withhold, they override, they ignore, they open up, and they participate with each other just like you would with another person. And you are the self, the director who expects and demands that they work together and know more about each other, or you don't expect it. So that relationship, I'm going to see if I can really help you see this, is that the unconscious and the conscious have different jobs and roles. And so depending on how they relate together and how they help each other and how they connect together, that's going to have a lot to do with what gets served up for you. So the more you look at what you believe and where you really sit inside of taking the case that the unconscious is a rich world, then the more you're going to open that space up for yourself. It's a huge opportunity to bring that intention to the conscious and unconscious inner relationship. And of course, the more we do that, the more we transform, right? The more we go inside, the more we find inner information, the more powerful and self-expressed we can be. So, okay, back to the working with your dreams. So once you've hovered in the space before waking, writing it down as soon as possible will give you the highest likelihood of capturing it. But when you write it, try to grasp the many hues of the colors, the smaller details that might feel tedious to describe, the smells, the time of day, the shape of the objects, and the sensory information that was there. It'll help the psyche to hold on to it, and it'll imprint it in your now. So in anything you want to draw in line art or just capture through simple images, it'll help to reclaim what happened during your dream space. I have these very long, detailed dreams, and I had one just last night, and waking up today, I thought, ooh, this is so good. I get to talk about it. But I want to tell you just about one piece of it in light of what I'm trying to describe. So in this section, a horse had gotten on the highway in front of me, and it was running, galloping, with the wind running through its mane, frantic. And so this part's a longer dream, but just in this scene, this is what it looked like. This horse was a gorgeous grayish white stallion, and I was in a car behind a black dashboard. It was a 6-lane highway running through a city. The day was gray and overcast, and it was back-to-back cars on both sides. And I could see this horse darting at full speed through the cars. And I was watching with worry because hoping others would recognize what was happening, And then all of a sudden, 6 car lengths up, and I could actually count them. I can still see the cars. The brakes on that car went. They showed up. The brake lights, I mean. So I thought, oh, the horse must have made it that far, and that person saw him. I'm thinking it was a him horse. So that's an interesting thing, right? So I felt myself panic, wishing I could do something to help the horse get off this highway. And, so anxious, thinking we were all going to get into a pileup. But it was right then that the physics changed in the dream. And all of a sudden, when one car got close to the other car, it was as if all of a sudden it was in slow motion. So it gave the car a chance to stop, right? To not actually slam into the car behind that. And my car did the same, where I actually got enough time, to stop. So as I moved towards another 100 yards, so now I'm driving slowly, all the cars are moving at about the same pace. I was in this far right lane, and I'm driving up and looking at people who had stopped and were looking over the side of the highway. So the railing, it was bent and it cracked, and I could tell that this was where the horse had left the highway. I could not see it. Of course, I was panicked that I was going to see this, hurt horse. And there was no horse there. It had jumped off the highway. So I thought, well, maybe it died over the side. But I came out of the dream and I really don't know. I had this image of it leaping gloriously off the side, and all day the dream's been playing out for me, and the detail, getting more and more vivid as I review it without concluding what it means. when we conclude what something means, we've used a particular part of our brain that is related to the tangible. So the more I can stay in, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this is about, right? I don't know what happened to that horse. So I'd have to go into the dream through some creative visualization to retrieve that information. And without that meditative activity, though, I can tell you that horses for me always represent power. And that's a place I might look. But I want you to know I'm still just hovering in it. So the cars and the highway, they're all interesting things to play with. The grayness of the day, right? You could start to put something together. But the point is that the more detail you can hold on to, the more you're bridging the unconscious and the conscious, because you're collecting the information in one dimension of self and bringing it to another. The more you're going to have to work with when you want to go see what that dream's trying to help you understand. Okay, I'm going to take a breath there. I'm hoping that that made some sense. So now let's go to another way to engage your dreams, and that is to actually invite them. And this is what I was really saying to Susie when she shared about her dream. And that is this idea that before you sleep, you actually ask for what you need. Now, there's a couple ways to do this, and I think, the more you ritualize it, the more your conscious mind and your unconscious gets that you mean business about it. So, before bedtime, you shut your electronics off, your TVs, you get into a peaceful, comfortable position. You might light a candle for just a few minutes and feel the bed and the pillow and the fabric of your pajamas, right? You get very aware of being in your body, right? And then you write down everything that you want to put away for the day, all of it. And as you write it, you think to yourself, I'm giving this over for the night. I'm going to let it be. I'm just going to rest. And then when you've gotten to the point that you've crawled into bed and turned the light off just before you sleep, ask for what you're needing help with, or what you want to understand better, or something you're wanting to shift in your life. Or maybe in my case, I might say, what happened to the horse? Because you're telling your conscious brain at this time, let go. Your work is done today. Turn it over to the guardians of the sleep kingdom. And you're providing a sense of trust for yourself. You're building this idea that you are in the lead and your whole inner self is there to serve and be seen. Even if you just do that last part I described, where you just ask just before you fall asleep and you don't do all the ritual stuff, I think it really produces a lot more of the payoff from when you sleep and dream. Because remember, when you go to sleep, you're opening up all your psychic receptors. And, you probably have an opinion about what dream time is all about for you already. So, I'm speaking into whatever you already think. Maybe you see it as a doorway to your psychic powers, or you think of it as a springboard for astral travel out of body, or maybe it's interrelated with your past lives, or a place that opens up communication with the spirit world, or, the idea that it's closer to Jung's perspective, that the unconscious brain is at work processing fears and anxieties when we sleep. It's still all directing you towards this idea that there is some opening that happens when you're sleeping. And this is what we're trying to activate and amplify. So I really believe that 90% or so of the brain that we're not using is absolutely not just wasted brain matter. And I think we have the ability to invite it and entice it and dance with it and explore and liberate the information that's there for our highest benefit. So I realize that the more intense or stressful life is, the more work we're actually doing in our sleep just to handle whatever's going on the day. And so because of this, there are layers to your dreams. The one I just talked about, the working out of a specific fear or worry, is one layer. And it's super important because it's the conscious mind's behind the scenes activity that sometimes plagues the doing of your life. In fact, you may or may not even be aware of how preoccupied you are with it. So you can imagine that while the conscious mind is keeping it at bay, it still needs to get worked through in some way. And you can do that in your dreams. There's also the supernatural layer, the Dali aspect, which has everything to do with the scene and the movements and the physics, like flying or clothing dissolving and the color of the sky. You know, I have locations that are part of the scenes in my dreams. One is a part of a warehouse district that lies along a river. And I can't tell you what city it is. I never have figured that part out. That the buildings are all square. And there's no trees, no plants. And they make up this huge community. One gray square set against another, different sized one. And I have to say, I return here pretty frequently. I don't know how often, but it's more than monthly probably. I have another dream scene where a house is set on the beach, and sometimes it gets flooded into the living room, and sometimes it floods back to the bedroom or up to the second floor, and I'm racing for my life. Over time, it's moved kind of away from the beach, so the flooding is less likely. It's interesting, right? So you want to start to acknowledge the scenes that you're occupying so you can notice changes, right on that level. All right, so when we come back from break, we're going to talk about some other pieces of these layers of dreams. And I hope that you're staying right with me and you're getting images as I speak about your own recurring dreams, your own scenes, and your own ways that you approach going to bed at night and how you look to, generate more and more of this unconscious information about yourself.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
You're never going to believe it, but I solved the problem. You want to know what it was? It was the speaker volume on my headphones. I've never had to adjust it, and I didn't realize that it had gone down. So I'm so excited. If you are holding back over there with a dream, you can call in right now, and I hope that you will. It's 202-570-7057. Okay, I'm taking a great big breath. Oh my gosh, such learning going on here. So we are talking about dreams, and we're right at the place where we're talking about the layers of dreams. So there's this changeability that goes on where you morph from one person to another or back to yourself, right? As you become a different person in your dream. It's kind of showing you how every character in the dream is you. Now, I'm assuming everyone's had that kind of experience where you're in your dream, you become someone else, then you become someone else, maybe you become yourself at a different age, and then you come back, right? So this is an important, substantial part of what there is to understand about your dream. All the players and the people, they essentially are an aspect of you. So no matter how tangible the dream is, like when it's working out a fear or a real life scenario, every character is you. So when you're exploring a dream like the one I talked about with the Jeep and the characters in the shooting, I'm all of those, even the shooter. There's no place like a dream when we can see the many aspects of who we are. So it's a big jolt to the mind to actually see yourself as the bad guy or doing harm in some way or being insensitive. And instead of placing that behavior on someone from your life who you associate with the behavior, you instead identify with it as yourself. However the words came out, whatever the feeling of it, it is an aspect of you. And it's making itself known and giving you a chance to work through that particular dynamic. I think this is an awesome tool to help us work with our shadow selves, the parts of ourselves that are kind of blind spots that we don't know are at play in our lives. People you know in your dreams will be confusing because you'll think that you're dreaming about them, but they're also you. And the actions and feelings that are attributed to them in the dream are ones you are connecting with. Because a dream is a 360-degree experience. There's self-information, there's processing going on, there's future guidance, and there's emotional material that seeps over the sides. I know there's these extreme cases in dreams where you get killed or harmed, and I'm suggesting when you combine all these elements, you get to see more about what's really happening. It's not just a dream about being afraid of death or being unsettled about an argument you had with someone. So with all that said, I do keep track of the characters in my dreams. I have a guy from high school who I had the hots for and never dated or anything, but pretty regularly he shows up in my dreams. And, over time we've courted and we've had sex and I've yelled at him for some reason or another. I've worked out lots of being wanted feelings through his presence. And those being wanted had to do with both sides of me, the part he represented, right? And how I saw and related with him. Because the way I relate to him is he's capable and talented and kind of an A-type personality. And that's a reflection of the aspects I'm working on in myself, right? That's the point. Also, I have Barbara Streisand and Oprah and Cher. They make appearances too. And in the beginning, I think the first time I remember meeting them, they were holding a meeting in Chicago at a hotel. And I was standing in the lobby thinking I was going to this meeting. And Barbara Streisand, she saunters up to me in her way that I visualize her and says, "You're really not ready to attend yet. You need to go home." So, there have been some really fun moments with my dreams. I have one with my grandmother who I traveled the country digging rocks with. And she shows up in this 50-foot square, stark white room with no corners. It's all white, ceiling, floors, sits at this mahogany desk in the center, and then states to me, "This is not a dream. I am here to give you advice." I often do feel the communication from that. But that's the thing. All is possible with dreams, and the more we allow them to be more than the literal interpretation, then the more they can support and aid us in doing our growth work, having a deeper relationship with self and living through all of the ups and downs of life. So the last layer you want to look at is all of the symbolism. Now we still have time if someone wants to call in, so I'd love to hear from you. But this is where lots of the dream information that's been written is focused. I veer to the left here because I really want you to understand the nature of your unique personal symbolism. And as a general guideline, the nature elements in your dream can be used as a starting point. Water is emotion, weather is events happening around you, earth moving is your foundation or your security, right? There's the common dream situations like being chased and flying and being transported and experiencing paralysis or falling. But again, it's important to tap into your symbolism because they're your dreams. It is your lifetime. All right. Well, we've got a caller. Diane from PA, come on and tell us about how you interpret your dreams or what you're playing with.
Well, I am a little confused in listening to you, so I thought I would ask. I'm kind of from old school, and sometime when I actually got kind of scared of my dreams. I was told that when I dreamt, that if it was significant and I was really involved, that I should have a piece of paper next to my bed and write down what was going through my head in my dream so that I could remember it when I actually woke up in the morning. So is that a practice that...
Sure.
Okay.
You can absolutely do that. The problem for me is that if I do that, I'm up for the night.
Okay.
I can't get back to sleep because now I've really engaged like movement and all of that. So it absolutely is certainly a definite option for people. And sometimes it's the reverse, that if you don't write it down, you can't get back to sleep. So I think that that's either one of those works just fine.
I think I found that the first time, what you said originally, that I couldn't get back to sleep once I did it. It's not that I didn't remember it, obviously, because I had it written down, but I didn't even make the connection of even why that was on the paper. You know, I couldn't remember. So,
interesting.
Anyway, it sounds. I will try to stay in my dream, as you suggest.
Yeah. And hover just as you wake up in that last, first 3 minutes of waking. That's where you want to stay in that in-between line.
Okay.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
It's nice to hear from you again.
Right, bye-bye.
So, okay. Wow. Thank you for that. So we were talking about symbolism and what you do if you want to see what's in your symbolism. So one of the ways is to make a list of all the types of symbols or elements of living from your life and put them down on the left side of a piece of paper. And then write the feelings you get when you think of them in your mind's eye. So those buildings that I described that show up recurrently in my scenes represent security and constraint and confusion. And I like buildings. I like the foundation that they provide. So when I think about them, I think about the way my brain organizes information. And those buildings, they fit it pretty closely, all linked together, but somehow not fully free to be out in the open, hovering around and over me and causing me to get lost trying to get from one to the other. So when I dream in that scene, there's a lot of relational stuff that happens, like finding my way from one part of the complex to another through unexpected doors, opening into giant warehouse spaces, getting to the roof and feeling this incredible sense of calm and freedom. Last time I visited that scene, I actually got to the other side of the river and discovered a train station. It was like, surprise, a new addition to the scene. So for those of you who don't dream or remember only 3 from your entire lifetime, you can absolutely shift that. The way your psyche is being charged up in your conscious mind, it's likely sending some message that it doesn't want this unconscious material to be leaked, or, you're going to have to do a lot more to nurture and intend it. So, even if you don't think it's true that you can have dreams, the key is to go look for the doors. So one of the things I might do at night is picture a door to my psyche as I'm going to sleep. I might draw a picture of it in my journal. I might call it a dream door or something fun, that comes to you. But you have to absolutely let your in control mind know that it needs to invite your unconscious self to the sleep time. And you'll probably need to do it a bunch of times. So I also like to try the nighttime ritual, right, as a way to put more intention. So this is one of the things I think people don't realize. You just have to communicate with your unconscious self over and over to actually get movement, because whatever you have in your conscious mind is hardwired. And to release that hold, you have to send new intention into the wiring. And that doesn't just happen with one wave. So this brings me to a point about how can you help it in an entirely different way. Well, here you can daydream. Right? From dreaming to dreaming. Dreams teach us about manifesting what we want. So the art of daydreaming, it's not about planning. It's about allowing yourself to go into the unimaginable, the unrealistic, the places where we fantasize and wish and hope. Where our wildest creations about how life could look will show up. And, if you think about being in the dream state when you're asleep and having no control over what happens, it gives us permission to then think about dreaming about the way we want life to go and what we may want in life. It's a great transition, right? To know that they both are helping each other. So this is where creative visualization comes in. So basically, you can go into this form of meditation and ask for information about your future. You can imagine what life could look like, and you can go back inside of the dream to see what happened next, like in the example of my gray stallion. Creative visualization is an awesome, awesome way to bridge the two dream worlds. I started with Shakti Gawain's creative visualization work, but now it's really common to find someone offering guided meditations all the time. And the key is that these guided meditations can also be guided by you. It's a rich way to open up and create the connection I've been talking about, the conscious to the unconscious. The idea of when you go into a guided meditation is that you have a place that you might typically go. So I go to it's a wash in the desert, and it's always right around when the sun is coming over the hills. It's usually bright orange, and when I'm in that wash, I can literally go up into the mountains, or I can go into another scene. And what I'm describing is I actually intend myself there. I put my visual there, and then I begin to walk, and I begin to invite parts of myself to show up and help me go on that journey. So the thing about creative visualization is you can actually go to a dream. So I could go back to the highway. I could imagine myself on that highway. I could close my eyes. I could allow myself to really stay in the car and then see what happened. I could also become the horse, and I could put myself in that horse space. So dreams connect us with the earth and the elements and with the world beyond ourselves. They remind us that we are part of something bigger than we may typically be in touch with. So I want to talk a little bit about contentment and peace inside of all of this dream conversation. I know that we all have to get to a place in life where we're content and at peace with who we are. Otherwise, we're in a constant state of feeling like we're not enough or unsettled. Our need to survive, it makes that contented and peaceful space a super accomplishment, right? Because we're able to get ahead of it and create a life that doesn't force us to have to think of survival in every moment. But beyond that, once the survival stuff is handled, I think we often get comfortable for longer than we need to. And we forget that we're here to experiment and to shake things up and to create and to be on our growing edge and take risk. So we keep expanding. I watch people sometimes lock in on one dream, like where they'll retire or the big vacation they want. But if we see dreaming as essential to every day, to like being human, then we're dreaming about all kinds of things. What we want to feel like in 5 years, how we can bring our childhood dreams into more reality, what we want dinner time to feel like, or how we want to get more fulfilled and intimate in our significant relationships. You're dreaming at night and in the day, whether or not you ever do anything with it. It's one of the most essential engines of your transformation. So when you dream at night, these dreams are telling you a bit about what your dreams actually are. So the most important thing to recognize out of the gate is that your dreams are valid, helpful, and they're a window into your inner self. They're being given to you so that you will understand and see more than you might if the information came through your conscious mind. Your psyche, it's serving up fresh, unfiltered information for you. And all you have to do is hover between the resting and awake state to validate it and to access it. Building a powerful bridge between the conscious and the unconscious and encouraging them to work together, it can only strengthen and expand that footprint of you. So I think we've reached the end of our show. I do have a poem for us, and I want to encourage you to write me at hello@expeditionself.com. I'd be happy to dialogue with you about your dreams or what you're doing with your dreams or how to do creative meditation. And this dream is from Walt Whitman's I Dreamed in a Dream. So here it goes. I dreamed in a dream. I saw a city invincible to the attacks of the whole of the rest of the earth. I dreamed that was the new city of friends. Nothing was greater there than the quality of robust, love, and it led the rest. Thank you for tolerating my technical difficulties today and for sharing the hour with me. I hope you found it helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in Dream Space.